Greetings, everyone. It's great to be with you. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for all you do in the way of learning and growing and serving, helping others to be uplifted and and understand our deeper tradition of wisdom through the Rosicrucian order Amorc and the great mystical paths in life. Today, we're going to revisit mystical poetry. Our presentation is entitled Mystical Poetry 2. Recall the November 1972 issue of the Rosicrucian Digest included an article entitled Mystic Poetry by Peter Bowden. We'll follow up again on that article and consider how our mystical experience, though ineffable, is nevertheless eminently worth describing and sharing through various forms of creative expression. We will consider poetry in its wide-ranging forms for the conveyance of mystical experience and the emulation of the cosmic. In this regard, I wish to share with you an image and some poetry. You'll see before you in the upper left the Helios, said to be the sun god. This is from the temple of Athena in Ionia, Troy, originally. And Helios making its great, or sun making its great journey through the heavens. In a way, this is a profound experience for us in going deeper into life, experiencing the dynamism of energy and nature. Rosicrucians refer to the cosmic keyboard, the tremendous range of vibrations and associated movements in the cosmos. Also, the outer form of a figure such as Helios with the steeds there, it also helps the outer mind clothe its deeper inner impressions, just like poetry does. And in the center, you'll find a depiction of the Milky Way. That's important because we're going to consider the poet Parmenides, who's depicted on the right in a later sculpture. And he has a very important poem that's in fragments on nature. And some scholars such as Peter Kinsley, which I'll give you a reference to, have looked at his works in a deeper, more spiritual way to see in a way the great tradition of spirituality, like unto mysticism and shamanism, that passed down through the core of the Western philosophy and the Western tradition. It has its matches in the indigenous traditions and traditions of the East and worldwide. You notice at the beginning fragment of the poem on nature reads, as you'll see there in the lower part of the slide, the steeds that bear me call me as far as ever my heart desired, since they brought me and set me on the renowned way of the goddess, who with her own hands conducts the person, who knows through all things on what way was I born. Now, there's a tradition in mysticism, in the West, but other cultures of the world, of the idea of the heavenly or the celestial ascent. I'll give you a reference in that later. We post them in the chat and have upload them in the chat as a PDF towards the end of the presentation. But this concept in Parmenides' poem is that we can come into a deeper knowing. We can move beyond outer thoughts and actions and go deeper into the Rosicrucian schematic diagram of mental processes, that we can move from the outer objective mind to the subjective mind, into the subconscious mind, and then into the cosmic mind, which overarches and infuses all forms of mind and in their expression. And that this was part of the deep underlying purpose of Greek philosophy and our birthright in knowing and learning these things. These are things that are taken up in the weekly lessons of the Rosicrucian order. You notice Parmenides has mentioned the way of the goddess, who with her own hands conducts the person. In a way, this is likened to the master within, the divine within, that we study and learn about through our Rosicrucian teachings. But also those higher and higher rates of vibration on the cosmic keyboard with their impressions that are clothed through various means. It also has carried me as far as ever my heart. There's a certain point where there needs to be a surrender and letting go and going even deeper. You notice it says knows through all things. This is something that the divine within, the master within conveys to us. Not only is a theoretical principle, but an astonishing and surprising, life-giving and maturing principle that we come into through meditation. So keeping in mind these profound points that are at the heart of our spiritual traditions of the world, let us conduct a period of meditation. Let us be raised upward like Helios and the steeds, up into the Milky Way galaxy and beyond, as Parmenides spoke of. We'll do so by applying the instructions of the Rosicrucian booklet, Liber 777, that I'll give you resources on later on in the presentation. So at this time, inspired by the view of Helios and the steeds, a spectacular view of the Milky Way galaxy that we're inhabitants of, and the inspiration of Parmenides, I invite you now to close your eyes and let us undertake these actions. For the Rosicrucian teachings, emphasis on doing, mastering, living in harmony with. So let us do that now. In this way, things will not only seem theoretical, but they'll also be practical. Then we'll understand the theory better. And when we understand the theory better, we can understand the practice better. They mutually reinforce each other. I invite you with your eyes closed in a comfortable position, whether you wish to be lying down or standing up or some other position, as long as you can breathe in an unencumbered way. And just enjoy the gentle rhythms of the breath, great incoming and outgoing of the breath, or the vibrations of the cosmic keyboard. Just turn inward. Experience yourself as the microcosm, the mini universe, the parallels and matches by the law of correspondence, the macrocosm, the entirety of the cosmos. And we'll go deeply into the microcosm and rise high in the macrocosm at the same time in our meditation. I invite you to breathe a little more deeply than usual and feel the charge of the vital life force, particularly its positive polarity, cosmic essence, and enriching tingling. And also, if it's comfortable for you to extend your exhalation longer than your inhalation, feel the relaxation response building with each exhalation. Feel the vagus nerve being stimulated, working with the autonomic nervous system. We learn about at various exercise weekly through our Rosicrucian teachings. Just continue to let go, concentrate on the breath. Soon we'll rise to the heights of the celestial sanctum. I invite you to say with me now that we applied the law of purification through our breath. Further purification and invocation and follows through this prayer, which you can say with me. May the divine essence of the cosmic infuse my being and cleanse me of all impurities of mind and body, that I may enter the celestial sanctum and attune in pureness and in worthiness. So mote it be. Now let us use all our imaginative capacity and psychic faculties to picture ourselves rising up from where we're situated, whether it be in our home, office, or other building, rising up over the building itself, over our neighborhood, our local geographic area, whether it be our town or village or city. Enjoy the exhilaration of the ascent, rising faster and faster. Seen below our county and even our province or state. Let us take in now our great nation and country, even our continent, and now our hemisphere, and even the beautiful blue jewel of the earth rotating about its axis paralleling our axis that is our spine. Let's continue to rise up higher and higher, seeing the weather systems below on the earth, the oceans, the seas, the landforms, even the satellite, the moon, revolving about the earth. As we look up and go faster and faster, so let us see other planets of our solar system and their beautiful elliptical orbits, and our local star, the great fiery ball of the sun, as we rise up higher and higher, way past the solar system, past myriad stars and nebulae and stellar phenomena, the quasars, the pulsars, the black holes balancing our universe, the great cosmic web joining the stars and the galaxies. Sense the great arms of our local home, the Milky Way galaxy that Parmenides spoke of in his poem on nature. Let us rise out even from our Milky Way galaxy and look back and see its great spiraling arms as it rotates about its axis. Its wondrous action as we look up and see the vastness of the universe. Myriad galaxies and stars and nebula, the great interconnections through the cosmic web, and even sensing the great vibrations of the cosmic keyboard. Spoken since ancient times as the celestial music, the harmony of the spheres. Let us experience it not only as a concept, but as an astonishing experience as we rise higher and higher, enjoying the exhilaration of the ascent, way beyond the speed of light, transcending space and time now, as we move from the finite plane to the infinite plane. Let's continue to journey upward and we'll apply the law of correspondence as we go higher and higher into the cosmos. We'll go deeper and deeper within ourselves, to the very presence of the divine within. Sensing the matching of the holy temple of our body, where the divine within resides, matching the divine temple of the cosmos, where the divine mind resides, that we're one with. And in the distance, I think you'll sense the great cosmic axis, mirroring the axis of our spine and the axis of the Milky Way galaxy and the axis of the earth, their movements. Sense the great midpoint of that cosmic axis. Speed towards it, about which the cosmos is revolving in a stupendous, inspiring, awe-inspiring action. And when you reach that midpoint of the axis, slow up, let us dwell there and take in great beauty, system and order of the universe, known since ancient times by the Greeks as the cosmos. Let us apply further the instructions of the booklet Liber 777. And visualize there the center of our being at the center of the cosmos, our personal celestial sanctum or sacred space, which may simply be the vast view of the cosmos all around us, or a temple that's special to you on earth, or a special place in nature that is inspiring to you. Feel in the sights and sounds and all your impressions, both physical and psychic, and deeper spiritual, your celestial sanctum. It was to picture incense rising up, symbolizing the law of transmutation, just as we rose up to the heights of the celestial sanctum. Increase our cosmic attunement. May wish to picture stained glass windows or other works of art showing Rosicrucian and mystical laws and principles. You may wish to picture all those who are on this conference call with us, other seekers, Supreme Lodge and Grand Lodge officers of the Rosicrucian Ramwork, the visible and invisible masters, all inspiring us by their presence at the heights of the celestial sanctum. Continue to visualize your celestial sanctum. Make it real, make it vital. Recall your mystical experiences in doing so. Feel charged and enlivened. Feel more fully yourself. Loving and caring. Soon we'll release our visualization, dwell in silence. I'll tell you when. Now let us prepare to release the visualization. Say, if it pleases the cosmic, it is done. So mote it be. Now let us dwell in silence, applying the law of silence. Feel all there is to feel. Feel the increasing presence of the divine within with each inhalation. Just continue to let go, let be, surrender to the divine within, the master within, our true guide in nature and life. Dwell in deeper and deeper silence, increasing presence of the divine within. I invite you to let your mind expand out throughout the cosmos. Feel the entirety of the cosmos. Be one with the divine within, the cosmic, the universal intelligence. Knowing all, seeing all, experiencing all, is spoken of in Parmenides' poem on nature. Experiences the cosmic mind experiences. Feel as the cosmic mind experiences. Be the cosmic mind. Assume the cosmic mind now. And one with the one. The eternal now. Beyond time and space. So in this state of cosmic communion, I invite you to undertake a further spiritual operation of the work and worship of the Rosicrucian Order Amorc. Let us join with the Silent Council in conjunction with the Council of Solace, the Rosicrucian Order Amorc, for a period of metaphysical aid, one of the great methods of healing taught through our weekly lessons. Let us radiate love and well-being now to all those who have petitioned the Grand Lodge of the Rosicrucian Order Amorc for guidance and healing. And let us radiate love and well-being to all those who have petitioned the affiliate bodies of the Rosicrucian Order Amorc for guidance and healing. And let us radiate love and well-being to all those you know who are in need of guidance and healing. And finally, let us radiate love and well-being to all those sentient beings throughout the cosmos who are in need of guidance and healing. Just let the love and well-being radiate from the depths of your being, including through the heart, radiating out at a great rate, just as we rose up to the heights of the celestial sanctum at a tremendous rate. Let the love and well-being radiate out from you like a great spotlight filling the cosmos. Just as our mind, attuned with the cosmic, fills the cosmos. Just let the flow of love and well-being happen. At a certain point, I think you'll find that no conscious effort is required. The radiations will continue on their own. And I think you'll find at a certain point they'll speed up and you know you're reaching those in need. And when that happens, just surrender to the process. And one with the one. Through the law of cosmic attunement, the law of service, and the law of karma, or the law of cause and effect, I think you will feel also a tonic healing effect for yourself, even though not explicitly intended. As you've given, so you received. Now and always. Soon we'll begin our descent from the heights of celestial sanctum. Let us dwell a while longer in cosmic communion. Applying the law of silence. Feeling all there is to feel I will formally conclude our period of sending metaphysical aid. Well, while longer at the heights of the celestial sanctum, by saying, if it pleases the cosmic, it is done, so mote it be. And in the deep enriching stillness, cause is a co-agent of the cosmic. I invite us to apply now the law of gratitude. We'll intensify the application of the laws that we've been applying. Extend our thanks to all those who have taught us well, to all those who have loved us well, to all those who have sacrificed well on our behalf. We radiate our thanks and gratitude. So they set their example to us, behooves us to follow and suit in theirs. A great chain of example and instruction passing from one generation to the other generation, down through time immemorial. At this time, I invite you to descend from the heights of the celestial sanctum, but we'll take this cosmic attunement with us in all that we say and do, in our words, action, and deeds. Let's now travel at a tremendous rate way beyond the speed of light, past the myriad stars and stellar phenomena, past the galaxies, even clusters and galaxies and clusters of galaxies, super clusters of galaxies, enjoying the exhilaration of the descent, sensing the oneness and deep interconnections through all life and all actions in the cosmos. That's the quasars and the pulsars, the nebulae, the cosmic web connecting the stars and galaxies. The great wonder of it all. And its range of vibrations on the cosmic keyboard. Past myriad galaxies. We see in the distance now the great spiraling arms of the Milky Way galaxy, our local home. Let us plunge into the great arm where we dwell at a tremendous rate way beyond the speed of light. Past the myriad stars and rogue planets and asteroids, nebulae. The great wonder and beauty of it all. See in the distance the great fiery ball of the sun, our solar system, that has come towards the planet Earth, the temple of the earth. Return back to the hemisphere where we left off, the continent, great nation or country, province or state, our county, our local geographic area, village or town or city, and now our neighborhood. And I invite you to say with me again, either prayer and invocation, formally close our period of cosmic attunement as follows. May the God of my heart sanctify this attunement of self with the celestial sanctum, so mote it be. Let us continue to descend now onto our home or office or building where we left off, however we're situated, seated or standing up, feeling reborn, remade, rejuvenated, rested and re-energized, all the more ready for the work and worship of the Rosicrucian Order Emmerich, now and always. When you're ready, you may wish to open your eyes and stretch. Feel the momentum of the meditation period, the increased cosmic attunement expressing through us. Thank you, everyone, for making the great journey that Parmenides has spoke of in his poem on nature. But also other mystics down through the ages have spoken of, such as Plato, Nefertiti, and Hildegard, Julian Norwich, and Florence Nightingale. You see before you now another mystic and poet who made the same great voyage into the depths of the cosmos and the depths of the cosmic. Namely Dante, his great epic poem, Paradiso, or Paradise. There's a part where Picardo Donata tells Dante that in heaven, our love is like the love that would have all its court be similar to itself. To live in love is, here, necessity. If you think on love's nature carefully, the essence of this blessed life consists in keeping to the boundaries of God's will, through which our wills become one single will. And akin with this description of the poem, there's a work by Gustave Doré, beautiful engraving. Doré was inspired by Dante's poem. And you see in this great journey of paradise, Dante travels with Beatrice, like unto his divine, the divine within, divine feminine. They go under a great journey, and he's guided by various personages and beings, and has various meetings. Here you see here the various angelic beings and orders that are being partaken of, just like spoken in Dante's poem, the comments of Donati, but also spoken down through the ages by mystics who experienced in their own ways, in their own time, the great system and order within us. In a similar fashion, in the poem, I'll show you another wonderful engraving by Gustave Doré, and also another part, Dante's Paradiso. And I match up, in a way, an affinity between the visual image and the poetry. Here my exalted vision lost its power, but now my will and my desire, like wheels revolving with an even motion, were turning with the love that moves the sun and all the stars, and like our great celestial ascent we just did in our meditation period. Wheels revolving also, of course, part an allusion to the Ezekiel's wheel, and the earlier proto-Kabbalistic teachings that are veiled in the sacred text there, associated with the Bible and Judaic writings, Book of Ezekiel. You see the witnesses here with Dante, guided by Beatrice, the angelic orders, the great invisible interior sun. We had a chance to experience through our meditation and through our momentum from that period. We can re-enlive it with these inspired poetry, expression of the ineffable. Even though it's the mystical experience is beyond words, we sense when a person or a poet or artist has experienced it, we attune with them. And that helps us retrace the steps that they undertook as well into that divine communion and make it a way of life and can pass it on to others in healing. So me here, we'll cover some other works of poetry. And often a traditionalist description or definition of poetry is that the composition following rhythm. And it can be spoken, uttered, or in a text or writ. It's for exciting divine emotions, pleasure, such as the beautiful, the elevated, and imaginative thoughts. It can also mean and expand beyond that. The way artistry transcends definition, just like the ineffable experience of mystical experience does. Here you see a work before you that's entitled Pillar of Fire by Professor Carl Lyndon Peters. The colors are inverted, so the background is in black rather than the original, which was in white, and the text is in white. The original text was black. I made this suggestion to Carl as part of a presentation we gave, and he was inclined to it. You notice too, there's in the middle the word letters pillar of fire. And that's in part an allusion to the pillar of fire that the children of Israel experienced in their great journey in the wilderness. And part of the anagogical or mystical uh, interpretation or sense of that sacred text is that the pillar of fire was a divine connection between the human and the divine, sentient being, the divine mind. You'll see too that the work follows the cosmic axis like we did in our meditation period and experience that mirrors our spine. And you see the letters W, and then there's a space, R, L, D, W at the top. I'll zoom in on this so you can get even more of a sense of it. It goes back to the early 90s when there was printers printed a little different than they do now, for example, inkjet printers, and also Carl and others were using typewriters. Some of us still do use. And you'll see that the letter O is taken out, and it gives this spiraling or helix-like design of rising up into the cosmic. There's also a way of play on words, the whirling of the world. Similar to this, around this time, Carl was part of a exhibit at the Niagara Artist Center, St. Catharines, Ontario, Canada. I collaborated with him on that. And you'll see in the upper left, Carl in a way is mimicking his poem, The Pillar of Fire. There's a pillar that's in black, white, red, and white, and it's been constructed from high pressure aerosol cans. It's been taken apart, and Carl is using his own holy temple of the body to continue to be one with the cosmic axis with arms stretched out. And there, he's forming the directions of the universe, similar to the way we experience the cosmos and the cosmic at the heights of the celestial sanctum. And below, as part of that exhibit, you will also see a cosmic axis, all in pure white. Above, we use the black, the red, and the white, in part because there's a traditional association in the traditional Martinist order, a closely allied organization of the Rosicrucian order, Emor, that there's an intensification of desire as we spiritually grow and learn as we pass through the black, the red, and the white as an alchemical transformation. Similarly, we have the pure white cosmic axis and pillar below, similarly constructed from high aerosol cans that are high pressure gases that were inside of them. You notice surrounding the glowing white pillar is various lines of black and movements, some like the movements of the universe, like electrons flying around, like you can see an electron microscope, various actions and circularities of movements here, and the complexity and diversity of the universe, but underlying laws. And here you'll see a black and white squares, like unto those that are often done in Freemasonic temples, symbolizing the law of duality, but also the allegory of good and evil, and be able to discern them. So here, the works that was from that exhibit parallel this work of mystical poetry, tying in with the rise up in the cosmic axis and the divine communion through the pillar of fire that the great journey the children of Israel with the initiate Moses took, just like an allegory for our own life and passage through the desert into passing into the promised land, the divine realization of the cosmic sense. Continuing in this spirit, in the inspiring conception of nature, that is all it's about, is to shift a little, going back to the 18th century. Sometimes the poetic can appear in visual form, in works of art, or other expressions of art are essentially poetic in their nature. Here I give you a quote from James Fenimore Cooper's book, The Deer Slayer, that's part of the Leatherstocking series, which I think some of you have much enjoyed, maybe particularly in your younger days. Now, James Fenimore Cooper wrote quite extensively, not only that series of books to do with Natty Bumppo, also known as Hawkeye, in this early novel, Deer Slayer. You'll see him in the background in the woods here, as with his companion, Harry, a very large figure. They've been going through the woods. They're on a journey. They've come out to an opening from the swamp, and Harry is giving a hooray or appreciation of being in the light after passing through the darkness of the forest and yet the beauty. And while James Fenimore Cooper is not considered as great an author as various Herman Melville and some of the other remarkable authors of United States, his descriptions of nature are as strong as any, I would say. And very early on in The Deer Slayer, chapter 2, in this journey that he is taking in his youth, there's a description coming down through the woods and making their way to the lake called Glimmerglass, Lake Oswego, that's by the shores of Cooperstown in Cooperstown, New York. They mention the description there, but the most striking peculiarities of this scene were its solemn solitude and sweet repose. On all sides, wherever the eye turned, nothing met it but the mirror-like surface of the lake, the placid view of heaven, and the dense setting of woods. So rich and fleecy were the outlines of the forest that scarce an opening could be seen. The whole visible earth, from the rounded mountaintop to the water's edge, presenting one unvaried hue of unbroken verdure. Here after this too, Natty Bumppo Hawkeye says that it's a great education just to look upon this inspiring scene. Similarly, as mystics, we come into a deeper and deeper appreciation of nature and an expanded conception of it, just like we undertook in our meditation period. And this, in a similar vein, we'll consider some more poetry before we close. And I wanted to mention to you Professor Catherine Achololu. And Catherine Achololu is a person from Nigeria. And she incarnated from 1951 to 2014. Quite an inspiring figure. And a very important site to her in her homeland is the Ecom monoliths that you'll see on the right. You'll just see a few of them there, and see a person in for sizing on these particularly large ones. They're in the Cross River state of Nigeria. Now, I know some of you have a profound understanding of Nigeria and its spirituality and rich culture. And Catherine had that as well and helped work to bring that out for greater realization. And I want to share with you some of her wonderful poetry. In her book of poetry, for example, the spring's last drop, there is a poem, The Market Goddess, which I'll give you a particular stanza from. The goddess that is everywhere streams into my veins, that I may live, that you may drink. I am the goddess of the market square. There's a great deal in this. In a way, as mystics, we can see when one mystic speaks to us, we can tune with them and sense. In a way, there's a description related to experiences we undertook in our meditation period, rising to the heights of a celestial sanctum. That divine consciousness, the goddess, being everywhere that we experience and streaming into us, and radiating the love and well-being to others so they may be drinked and be whole. This is one of the great gifts that Catherine gave forward to us. It's much inspiring. In a similar spirit, I wanted to mention to you Jim Lyons in his poem, or from his book, Dancing in the Rain, particularly his poem, Tell Me Mama. You may know him already from the country of Trinidad and Tobago, and he's shown here in his artistic studio, his artist studio in Trinidad, because he was also a very accomplished artist, just like Sir Derek Walcott from St. Lucia. And actually, there's a great affinity, as you'd expect, between his visual art and his poems. In this inspiring poem, Tell Me Mama, he says, tell me, Mama, where does the sun come from in the morning? Where does it go to when it reaches the edge of the field? Teacher said the world is round and spinning. I am standing on the world. How come I don't feel dizzy? And if the world is spinning, why don't the seas and oceans spill out into space? And if the world is round, as teacher said, how come some fields and roads remain flat for miles and miles and miles? When we go walking in the moonlight, why does the moon follow us wherever we go? Please, Mama, tell me. I want to know. One can't help but smile and see the beauty of childhood, but this is the type of experience that we need to keep with us as maturing adults. In that attunement with the divine within, we have that childlike wonder and awe, just like when we ascended the heights of celestial sanctum and saw the vastness of the cosmos and heard the harmony of the spheres. And John Lyons, in his deep sophistication, has kept that childlike wonder, just like the great explorers of the cosmic, Hildegard of Bingen, Florence Nightingale, Julian Nerich, Nefertiti, and T did before us. And it's wonderful too to also experience poets from the cultures we were raised in, but then also poets from other cultures to get that more well-rounded and expanded conception. And yet, note that the moon always follows us wherever we go when we unite the master within the divine within. Each of us is making our own path towards the moonlight over the water, rising up to the mountaintop together. Each has their individual path, but is universal in nature and unique to us. And these are the type of questions we ask of the divine within. Why do these things happen? In part, we learn them through the different phases of mind I spoke to earlier, but fundamentally through the guidance of the divine within and the inspiration to artists and scientists, engineers, and craftspersons down through the ages. And now to come more towards our closing, I wanted to mention to you the celebrated Rosicrucian poet, Ella Wheeler Wilcox. In the Rosicrucian Digest, volume 103, number 1, to give you a resource on, the theme was on art. You'll see depicted its cover on the right. Included in there is the poet of the beloved Rosicrucian, Michael Shillelagh, that we spoke of in the Mystic Poetry presentation this follows up on. But also there's the poetry of Sora Ella Wheeler Wilcox in her poem, As You Go Through Life. I'll take a particular stanza there. The world will never adjust itself to suit your whims to the letter. Some things must go wrong your whole life long. And the sooner you know it, the better. It is folly to fight with the infinite and go under at last in the wrestle. The wiser person shapes into the divine's plan, as water shapes into a vessel. There's a wealth of Rosicrucian laws and principles and wisdom in this. You notice there's a way of working in harmony with the cosmic. There's also a concept of surrendering so that we can see things more correctly in an understanding way. And that, in a way, life appears to us as having a past, present, and future. But as we meditate and go with that presence of the divine mind that we attune with, we sense more and more things in eternal now and have less regret for the past. Yes, learn from it. And less anticipatory anxiety and anxiety about the future. As we plan, more capacity to plan and think clearly in the present. You notice too about as water shapes into a vessel. Here we have knowing the laws and principles of life, accepting conditions and working with them, and shaping to the divine plan in a way that's our will uniting with the divine will. Process of deification, becoming divine, not in self-aggrandizement, but as Plato and Parmenides spoke of, process being one with the divine, as Ella Wilcox does in her own way. This and many other Rosicrucian laws and principles at work. So by way of conclusion, I will mention that we've considered mystical poetry. We followed up on the 1972 issue of the Rosicrucian Digest, which included an article, Mystic Poetry, by Peter Bowden. And we've considered how our mystical experience, though ineffable, is nevertheless eminently worthwhile describing and sharing through various forms of creative expression, through the example of various exemplary artists and mystics. And we've seen how poetry in wide-ranging forms is well suited for the conveyance, mystical experience, and the emulation of the cosmic. And let us use this as a pattern in our own poetry, our own creative work, whether it takes place in the arts or the sciences, whatever form, that we take our mystical experiences from meditation, our intuitive impressions, and clothe them and emulate them in our surroundings, in our actions, in our way of life, in our careers. And that way our attunement will be increased, and then we can emulate the cosmic even more on this path of self-mastery and service. Thank you, everyone.